Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the transit Sun conjunct one's natal Uranus. Now, the thing about this is when we're talking about transits involving the Sun, this is about our focus, attention, our concentration of energy. And when you have the transit Sun hitting one's natal Uranus, that could be very strong focus, attention, concentration of energy. It could be on friendships. Say if you have this in Sagittarius, it could be ones that are sports or religious or people that are just very expansive and jocular or what have you. It could also be on astrology, and especially if you are somebody that already has like an affinity for astrology, or you're enamored with it, you're a big fan of it, or you do astrology, as your livelihood. This could be a time where that energy might be even more pronounced, and it may be very auspicious for that. Or it could be something else Uranus related, like aerospace or something. Not, computers, electronics, innovation, any Uranus type profession. If you're somebody that's involved in one of those professions, this could be a time where there could even be a stronger focus on it. It might be very beneficial to you, actually, because that energy is such where there's more generally going to be more of an interest in that area, and you're going to be more focused on that than usual. But the thing about this too is it also could be some attention that is put on something very, on the unexpected or the unusual or something very unpredictable. It could shine the light on somebody. Maybe that's rather unorthodox or unpredictable. And this is something too where you might be more focused on groups and clubs and organizations more so than usual, which could really be a surprise to some people. No surprise, but Aquarius can be about surprises. But anyway, um, if you're somebody that's very introverted and introspective, you have a chart that's such like mine, and you might be surprising some people because you might actually be showing a much greater interest than usual into joining some kind of group, club, or organization at this time. And it also could be on society as well. There might be more of an interest in it. You might be doing some research on what you believe, on what society actually is, and what is actually going on in our society and life. And the thing about this too is, as far as anatomically speaking, Uranus is associated with the ankles, the shins, the calves, and the lower legs. So it could be more of a focus on one of these issues, and also nerves as well. If you're somebody that has any kind of problems like these, this could be a time where you might be a little bit more focused on it. It doesn't always mean that it's something bad or adverse is going to happen, or you're going to have some exacerbation of any problems with this, but it might be something where you might be deciding to get it checked out and actually see, what might be going on a little better more before it could potentially escalate, as an example. Now, Uranus is also associated with electricity. The sun is about, it could be about the physical body. It's just important to be careful during this time when this transit is actually transpiring, that if you're involved, especially like you're an electrician, you're doing something, like electronic work that you're doing, where you're working with live wires, to take your extra precautions at this time. Make sure you're grounded and you wear the proper gloves, etc. Because this could be a little greater propensity for electric shock. It could simply just be, going into, you could be shopping at a store. I think this has happened to me before. I go down like a grocery aisle and I'll get like, like a, static electricity. Now, I don't know if that happened during this transit, but I'm just talking about that as an example. And also, too, this could be on something where you're focusing on something that's very erratic and sporadic. If it's in your sixth house, it could be some kind of work schedule. Um, it could be some kind of health situation. If it's in the seventh house, it could be an issue with a marriage partner or a significant other or some business partnership. And also, too, this is something, too, where you're talking about, these are, Uranus also is associated with computers. So if you have some, issue, with the computer, this could be that time where you're putting more of attention on it. Let's say if Pluto is involved, as well adversely, or you're one of those people that have, Uranus Pluto conjunction, and the transit sun is hitting both, and it could be some virus issue that you might be putting some focus on at this time, more so than usual. So because Pluto can be associated with viruses, and I would say it's not limited to it. It doesn't necessarily exclude computers, because viruses, we think more, it's generally more about health related issues. But Pluto is also about corruption. Virus does corrupt computer last time I checked. So anyway, now, I thought it was interesting. I'll talk about a personal experience I had with this transit. On September 26, 2012, transit sun made a close applying conjunction to my natal 6th house Uranus. And the thing about that is, some of you may remember on that date, I did start my YouTube astrology channel. And that was a time perhaps I was very driven, which is the sun motivated, to start something astrological, which is Uranus in the 6th house of the daily routine. Interestingly enough, my Uranus almost exactly conjuncts my 6th house cusp, so it's not surprising. This is something for me that was really like, your astrology is such an indelible fixture to me anyway, as far as what I do day to day. And if somebody has this transit, it could be a time too where one may feel more of a desire to deviate from monotony, from doing something monotonous. And especially, if you have like a very dominant, like Taurus or Capricorn chart, you're very consistent and doing, the same thing day in and day out, it could be a little bit of a surprise to others, where you might express more of an interest to try to break free from what is actually going on a day-to-day basis. This lasts for about 5 days, this transit. If you're using a 3-degree applying aspect and 2-degree separation aspect, the sun moves about 1 degree per day. That would be approximately 5 days it would last. It doesn't really last that long, but still, it can be a time where you might want to break out of doing something for out of some kind of routine or some kind of monotony. And when you break out of something, that could still have effects that could be lasting a lot longer than 5 days, but it can be more emphasized in that 5-day period that you have the transit. Now, another, or at least that's when it is actually started. Another thing too, this could also be very auspicious for like matters with social networks, social media at this time, making connections on the internet, whether it's for business or what have you. If you have this in Capricorn, it might be very auspicious for career-related matters, for status, and it might be for something business-related at this time. And there might be more of wanting more freedom and independence. The sun is about what we want. Uranus is associated with freedom and independence. If you've been in a situation where you've been very confined, if you've been under someone else's auspices, you're under some kind of supervision or what have you, and you've been in like a subordinate, subservient position, this could be the time where you might be more inclined to break free from that at this time, more so than usual. It might just be a simple desire to have a little bit more, control over your schedule to some degree. If you've been at a place and you've been there for a pretty good time, and you've been your loyal and steadfast employee, and you think you have enough clout where you could just maybe ask, well, is there a way I can have, this weekend off, or a weekend off every now and then, or something like that, as an example. That could be that time where you may decide to do so. Now, the sun in astrology is also associated with the biological father and children as well. So if these things do apply, and you do have one or both of these things I just stated, one or both these people might be expressing a little bit more eccentric behavior, or something unusual or idiosyncratic, or they might just be expressing simply more humanitarian energy, more selfless energy, and altruism at this time, more so than usual. Now, another good thing with this transit, though, is that it might bring life, so to speak. Sun is about life, It may bring some life, so to speak, to some friends or some group related matters at this time. If your friendships have gone stagnant and you haven't really had much to do with people for some time, or maybe some group or club you were involved in, if it's been a certain activity, whether it had to do with you not participating in it, or maybe it had something to do with the club itself going stagnant or stale for a certain time. This could be a time where you might be revived, and there might be more life brought into this, and it might be very positive for getting back in those situations, more so with friends and groups at this time, more so than usual. Hold on a moment, people. Anyway, another thing about this is that looking at this as well, I mean, this transit, it could also be the sun is associated with the ego, and it could be, the ego may be fueled by Uranus like things at this time, having greater friendships, being more popular with others, getting more involvement with groups at this time, your contemporaries. Uh, it can be about expressing maybe some innovative qualities at this time, some certain uniqueness in yourself, and also again, this could be something too where the vitality, I mean, the sun is about vitality and energy. So the vitality and energy may be kind of, sporadic at this time and going up and down, so to speak, at this time more so than usual. Remember, the sun is either the left or the rules either the left or the right eye, depending on gender. So sometimes this could indicate like maybe like an intermittent, kind of twitch going on with one of the eyes at this time. If it's, especially if this transit falls in the first or the sixth house in your natal chart, because of course the first house corresponds with the physical body. Sixth house is about physical health related issues, physical debilitation. So anyway, and also it could, or just some unusual problem with an eye. It could be where one is like enlarged, more so than the other, or something very odd or unusual with one of you guys. Now, it's also about shining. Sun could be about shining and when you have this transit, it could be in something that's Uranus related. It could be just simply you're in some model rocket contest, or if you're in some kind of like convention where you're displaying something innovative, or something with astrology, or with friendships or popularity with your friends, something that could be Uranus related. This could be the time when you might be more apt to shine, and more so than usual. Now, if you have this transit as an example, let's say you have this in the ninth house. This could be a time where you might shine in something Uranus related that involves publishing. It could be some astrological publications, something involving new concepts, ideas. It could be something with aerospace, astronomy, computers, electronics, or anything else that could be Uranus related. And if you're doing something, or maybe it might manifest in shining the light on some unusual behavior from in-laws or grandchildren at this time. Now, a lot of this, depending on, if it's going to go smoothly, or these things might not go as smooth. A lot of that could be predicated and dependent on aspects that are made to points in your chart. If this is making a sextile trine to your natal Jupiter, these things can go very smoothly. There might be more prosperity connected with it, but if you have say it makes an adverse aspect to your natal Saturn, there might be more delays in some of the things that I talked about, or there might be some roadblocks or obstructions you might have to deal with in these in the things that I talked about that were favorable. Is really what I'm saying. So associated with the transit. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.